Thank you for joining us. I'm Richard Peretz, and I'm on location at the Space Life Sciences Lab here at Cape Canaveral, Florida, for an interview with Frank DiBello, president of Space Florida. We'll be discussing America's role in the future of space exploration and STEM education following these messages. The Life Extension Foundation is a non-profit institute with a 37-year track record of discovery that is light years ahead of the medical establishment. To learn more about the Life Extension Foundation, log on to immortalitynow.com. With us now is Frank DiBello, president of Space Florida. It's a privilege to be with you again, sir.
Pleasure to be here as well. Thank you.
We are facing quite a few challenges in education, STEM education, and the development of the United States space program. How do you see the challenges facing the space industry in Florida at this present time?
Well, I think there are many, but budget is a big one. The fact that the industry itself is going through a transition. Certainly one of the major challenges for the U.S. and for many nations in the world is budget that can be spent on space. Space exploration is an expensive proposition, and I believe that the future of space exploration is one that will be founded on international collaboration and cooperation, doing things together. Budget, though, is driving concerns over industrial base. It's driving concerns over the ability to balance space exploration missions and national security needs with social needs in each country. And the fact that space is so important to national well-being, both economically as well as a driver for education, as you've indicated, is well known to everyone. That's why today we have some 37 spaceports that are either existing or planned around the world. And that's because many nations, even if they are not launching rockets into geostationary orbit, they are getting into the space business so that they can do suborbital launch and to get their nations into space activity, because it serves as a catalyst for innovation and driving the innovation economy they all seek for their people.
Sir, before I ask you about Space Florida, I understand you recently visited Israel and are involved in space projects over there. Please tell us about this.
Well, we are working on a Florida State of Israel collaborative agreement in research in which Space Florida is the agent for the state, and the Office of Chief Scientist in Israel and the Israeli Space Agency are the agents in the State of Israel. And we are looking at supporting collaborative research between Israeli companies and Florida-based companies in areas of space science, agricultural uses of space, weather monitoring, Earth observation applications, and in a variety of space technology development areas. It's a unique and very productive collaboration between our two countries.
This is also fascinating. Sir, please tell us, what is Space Florida and what are your primary responsibilities for the state?
Well, Space Florida was created by the Florida legislature as a public corporation to serve as an agent for growth of the aerospace industry in the state, but also to serve as the state's spaceport authority. Translated, that means that we are responsible for ensuring that the state has the infrastructure and the programs that it needs to remain a leader and to continue a leadership role in space activity. We were given a lot of very interesting tools to work with in financing, as well as we were made an independent special district of the state, so we also have a political boundary. We are working with our space partners in the state, such as NASA and the Air Force, and civil agencies that are involved in space, to ensure that we evolve collaborative programs that keep Florida a leader.
What have been your visions and goals for the past few years since taking office?
Since taking office in Space Florida, we've created some 7,000 jobs, more than replacing the jobs that were lost, by closing on some 45 different transactions that resulted in either a company expanding here or moving from another state or from someplace in the globe to Florida and setting up its operations. So I'm very, very pleased with the kind of economic development activities that we've been involved in, and that has been our highest priority. We've also, though, begun to support the evolution of Florida's space industry from one that was primarily federally dominated during the past 50 years to one that is increasingly and inevitably more commercial. And that is the future of Florida's space industry.
Fascinating. Have you had the support and tools needed to achieve those goals?
Very much so. The legislature in Florida has been very mindful of the importance of Florida's space industry as an economic contributor to its economic well-being. And they have supported us not only with budget. We have a great partnership with the Florida Department of Transportation. We've been successful in instituting space as one of the principal modes of transportation in Florida, and the Cape Canaveral Spaceport Complex is one of the true quintimodal spaceports in the world.
A question on many people's mind is, what about your vision for Florida's spaceport and the future, and what are the key initiatives that Space Florida will implement to get there?
Well, clearly we are transitioning from an era in which the spaceport was dominated half by the Air Force, or managed half by the Air Force, and the other half managed by NASA. Today, that is changing. The Air Force has 3 active launch pads, 2 of which are managed by ULA, a launch company, and the other is managed by SpaceX. NASA has 2 inactive pads, one of which has just been transitioned to SpaceX, and the other is being prepared for NASA's next generation space launch system, which is their space exploration rocket. The state has 2 active launch pads for commercial purposes and to support some government missions, and is reaching for additional capabilities, both horizontal launch capabilities as well as vertical launch capabilities, to support purely commercial operations. Our hope is that these will serve as very efficient, very reliable, and responsive spaceport facilities to support commercial operators' needs. As I mentioned, the space marketplace is becoming increasingly commercial. Today, it's a $314 billion industry. Over 80% of that industry and those revenues are coming from commercial sources, not government. And Florida wants to be responsive and build the commercial spaceport of the future that is truly commercial.
One of the challenges of concern is that of STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math, and the workforce in general, returning Army veterans and finding employment for those technicians who have lost jobs back in the Space Shuttle program, but in general, promoting education for the future. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that challenge is met in a number of ways, but principal among those, when we look at companies that want to come here, the biggest single driver for their coming here is not the state's incentives, which are very good. It's the business, not the business environment that we have, which is also very attractive to them, and we have an abundance of infrastructure that they can take advantage of. It is the workforce and the availability of the skills that are their next generation advanced manufacturing skills. I'm going to take a long-winded answer to your question. Companies right now, especially in the aerospace industry, are going through a consolidation in response to what are going to be tight federal budgets for the next decade. And as they look to consolidate, they're looking to reduce the number of touches, manufacturing touches, on every product that they produce. That means they're moving to advanced manufacturing technologies and additive manufacturing and use of 3D printing and a lot of advanced tools to develop these products and to produce them and push them out the door. We need to make sure that our workforce is trained in the analytical skills, the science, the STEM skills, but especially in the advanced manufacturing skills that are necessary to respond to this workforce requirement. So we're working to establish a number of advanced manufacturing centers around the state that will take students in collaboration with industry and train in the use of 3D printing technologies, friction stir welding technologies, use of nanomaterials, and I can go on use of composites. All of these skills are next generation skills on which Florida's workforce of the future will be founded on. What we are managing is an era of transition and an era of change. The change is one where the industry, especially the spaceport industry, is moving from one that has been federally managed to one that will be increasingly more responsive to commercial markets. I view the spaceport of the future as one where it is managed by a spaceport authority, and both NASA and DoD and many commercial operators are customers, users who are paying by the drink for spaceport services. That is what we must evolve toward. And if we don't change, we will see our spaceport of the future in Georgia or in Texas or some other location.
Before we conclude, other nations are looking to the United States for guidance to lead them in initiatives with regard to worldwide cooperation and space exploration. Please tell us about these future endeavors.
That's absolutely true. I think other nations are looking to the U.S. and to Florida to lead, because we have been the nation's spaceport. And if we cannot respond to the changing marketplace, we have to drive the new processes, the new methods of doing this. We will make this transition and partner with other nations in evolving their spaceport capabilities. I hope that as the sea rises and we all begin to participate in a greater level of space activity, we all will gain the economic benefit and STEM education benefits that come from that. Clearly, as other nations look to Florida to set the pace and adapt to change, they are going to follow what we're doing, and we'll work in collaboration with them. Space exploration and commercial space response are going to be areas in which other nations participate with us. No nation can afford to do this alone, and we want to evolve capabilities where an operator can operate from here to Singapore or here to London in a few hours and share in research activities and share infrastructure and ideas. And this is the kind of economic environment we're looking at for the space industry of the future.
Most interesting.
The importance of STEM education as a foundation for tomorrow's workforce can't be overemphasized. We can teach manufacturing skills and do a lot of training of today's workforce for tomorrow's skills, but the foundation has to be the capabilities to understand they are more and more analytical, they are more and more science-based, and having students that are interested in learning these skills and participating in the development of many of tomorrow's aerospace-based products and services is important. What's also there is that what you learn in aerospace is so applicable to advances in medicine, advances in every other walk of life, because today space technology is pervasive in everything that we're doing. So whether you're a gamer or a scientist or want to become a crime scene investigator, all of these skills will evolve from STEM education.
Mr. DiBello, it's been a real privilege and pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
I'll be right back.
By continuing to work together as partners in a global space exploration enterprise. Through their dedication and sacrifice, we are now in a new era of exploration, in which humans will reach new destinations such as an asteroid in Mars, and we're transforming the way we reach low Earth orbit. NASA has a long history of international cooperation. I can tell you from firsthand experience that when viewed from orbit, our borderless Earth inspires a sense of humility, unity of humanity, and wonder. Once a photograph of the Earth taken from outside is available, a new idea as powerful as any in history will be let loose. What was once a global competition has long since become a global collaboration.
Very surprisingly, the state of Israel are one of the only ones in the world that can launch, operate, and develop satellites. In space, you must cooperate. You cannot do things by yourself, and it's very, very important to us to be in the front line.
Well, the cooperation between Israel and Italy in space has started just a few years ago. So the project is called Shalom. It will allow to have a mixed configuration between Israel and Italian industries in the field.
France and Israel cooperate in space since 1994. In 2005, we decided to start together a complete mission, complete satellite, dedicated to the study of environment and vegetation. This mission, called Venus, will be launched next year in August. This mission is a first-class mission in the world. We shall have more than 100 sites which we shall observe around the whole world, working with all the scientists in the world. For the first time, this satellite will deliver data with a revisit. That the satellite will come at the same place, at the same hour, with the same light every 2 days. So it's a very strong, very tight, very close cooperation, and very fruitful and growing cooperation.
The smallest satellite in the world, and with this resolution by far the smallest satellite, so it's very lightweight, very agile. The entire satellite is developed and manufactured here in Israel with Israeli technology that is unique in the ability to give very high resolution with very small elements and components. Venus is a research satellite for scientific purposes for the French Space Agency and Israeli space agencies in a joint program. It will provide superspectral images of Earth, superspectral in 12 different color bands, so that scientists can monitor vegetation and environmental issues in pre-planned sites around the world. We have a very advanced space industries. We've launched 13 satellites successfully into space. They all work with 100% efficiency, well beyond their expected lifetime. We specialize in small, very highly capable satellites that take high-resolution Earth observation pictures. We're talking about resolutions better than 70 centimeters for the electro-optic satellites and about 1 meter for the radar satellites that we have launched. Designing a satellite means mastering a lot of different technological areas because the conditions in space are very difficult. We put a tremendous effort in keeping the weight down. Does anybody ride a bicycle here?
I did it before. I do it all life.
I bet you wish your bicycle was made out of this.
Oh my God. Pardon?
Who's got strength? Okay, let's see you lift this.
I can do it.
This is the composite for the arms of the antenna. We have a fleet of communication satellites in size from 1.5 tons to 4.5 tons, and we're building another one now that's 5.5 tons in size, the AMOS fleet of satellites, and those give communications to areas from Australia until the United States and connect them with the country of Israel and between each other.
You start much more activities than we do, so innovation, but also this wish to experiment yourself in the business is something that we should learn again, because this was in the past, it was the same also in Italy, but we have lost a little bit of this enthusiasm to go in business.
Well, the greatest, I think, contribution to the Israeli aerospace community and industry overall is the unbelievable capacity for entrepreneurial spirit, of how to apply technologies to a multitude of different applications to meet current challenges, and how to grow that technology to then be adaptable and agile enough in order to meet those goals. And that entrepreneurial spirit is absolutely incalculable in terms of its value moving forward for space exploration ventures.
We, as this, you can understand from the name, we are the electro-optic system, so we are manufacturing, design and manufacturing all the electro-optical parts. In other words, all the cameras for all the Israeli, but not only the Israeli satellites. We spend a huge effort to do our system very, very light and very, very compact. And from the other hand, we have very high performances.
Among our products, you can find propulsion systems and components that can assist the launching of the satellite into the orbit, and of course, the station keeping, the maintenance of the satellite in the orbit. We are part of ExoMars, which is the lander on Mars that's going to be launched in 2016 by ESA, and we are providing the propellant tanks for the lander capsule.
Our mission is to build and send the first Israeli mooncraft and land it on the moon. What we're seeing here is a one-to-one model of the mooncraft. It weighs about 220 pounds. It's going to be sent using another rocket to orbit and then to the moon. The mission is to land a soft landing on the moon, complete a mission of photographing and sending video to Earth.
Nanosatellite is satellites weighing less than 10 kilograms. Currently there are 250 nanosatellite projects all over the world, from pure science activities and academic to industrial use. What we're trying to do is to promote civilian commercial space industry here in Israel.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for inviting me to join you in this celebration of life and legacy of Alain Ramon, a great explorer and humanitarian, and to the path of exploration and discovery ahead that we'll all travel together into the cosmos. It's really hard for me to believe that a decade has passed since the Columbia tragedy. And as I told some students yesterday, I said I could see in them, in each and every one of them, Alain Ramon. Now, I could see him in their faces and in their innocence and exuberance and excitement about what they know they're going to have an opportunity to do, and they spoke of hope.
אז 10 שנים אחרי אני גאה, כי אנחנו הצלחנו ביחד עם חברים, ביחד עם שותפים לדרך, להגיע למעגלי השפעה של השראה, של חינוך ומורשת. 10 שנים אחרי אנחנו נוגעים בזירה הבינלאומית כשאנחנו שולחים את יקירינו הצעירים, בעלי המלגות, הזוכים בתחרויות בכל הגילאים, לייצג אותנו, את ישראל, מול העולם כולו.
The sacrifice that Alain Ramon made along with his colleagues on the Columbia flight demonstrates the risk, but also the tremendous returns that we can see and that we can expect. And what we can aspire to, I think, as humans, to achieve those kinds of goals, knowing full well that in order to really understand something better, there is a potential of failure. And that's what his example reminds us of. His courage reminds us of why you ought to continue to persist.
This concludes our special program for today from On Location at the Space Life Sciences Lab at Cape Canaveral. I'm Richard Peretz. Thank you for being with us.